Have you ever wondered what makes film so special? Is it the story they tell, or is it something more that adds to their value? How different are films from regular videos you can now even take and watch on your phone? See something interesting? Hit record, send to your Instagram or Snapchat story, or even upload to YouTube. But without the art of shooting and editing, how different are films from mere video clips and images? That's exactly where the magic of shooting and editing techniques take place. More than telling a story, cinema, even in its early days, has always been about the manipulation of perception well beyond the conscious state, which can be achieved through a combination of shooting and editing techniques. Without the use of these techniques, motion pictures wouldn't be really possible in the 24 still images per second. Come to think of it, the rise and proliferation of films can also be traced back to their appeal to the audience. These represent conscious manipulation as well as the conscious desire for sensory manipulation. So when the audience leaves the theater, they can take the messages by the film they watched and use these as tools for adapting to reality, as well as be empowered to change their own circumstances in life. At the end of the day, all the elements that make up a film, the story at its core, and how it's told through the framing of shots and their combination through editing, further the meaning and messages we derive as the audience, which we can analyze ideologically, iconographically, physiologically, and emotionally, according to how we want and have been influenced to perceive and receive films. Cinematic technology, editing, recording, and projection can also be seen as opportunities to place the audience as spectators and subjects of perception in new positions. This happens after the audience digests the film, allowing for their conscious transformation into what the film seeks to relay and represent, all because of the cinematically constructed perception. Because of how the clips that make up films are shot and edited, space, time, and motion, which are the basics of perception, become relative elements part of the technology of film. All these form a cinematic apparatus which manipulates the audience, essentially leaving them entranced during and after watching. The result is the magical feeling we get when watching a film. The events on screen and how they are relayed distract us from the realities we face, even just for an hour or two. While watching, all we can do is submit to our consciousness, which has already been manipulated by the images on screen. Apart from psychological effects, films, especially in the old days, also had psychophysical effects. Old films were composed of images stored in celluloid, and the flickering between light and darkness as these were projected mirrored how the body's nervous system processed impulses. Apart from rhythmic impulses, this shows that certain functions of the brain can be triggered by cinematic effects. Even today, in the age of modern films, camera shooting and editing techniques tend to accelerate our own body's frequencies of shivering, vibrating, and flickering, depending on what we watch on screen. The cinematic experience can then be seen as a function of reflexology. With the films being distributed and consumed as part of a shared experience, the audience can also exchange and collect individual experiences among each other, while regulating emotions, sensations, and shared experiences. Essentially, we keep each other in check. The cinematic experience can then be seen as a function of reflexology. With the films being distributed and consumed as part of a shared experience, the audience can also exchange and collect individual experiences among each other, while regulating emotions, sensations, and shared experiences. Essentially, we keep each other in check. Socially and economically, the rise of films in the cinema can also be seen according to the capitalist, hierarchical, and monolithic conditions that shape them. Socially and economically, the rise of films in the cinema can also be analyzed according to the capitalist, hierarchical, and monolithic conditions that shape them. Film production, from choosing what and how stories are to be told and shaped, is subject to industrial systems of production and utilization. As the popularity of films grew, they became an industry meant for profits and privileges. Culturally, the cinematic experience can also be seen as a form of trance. The systematic treatment and shifting of the normative and imaginary timeframes rope us into a sort of trance, during which time we are consumed by how the scenes take place and the story is told. At the end of the day, how the camera is used, all the way to how the images it captured are shaped to tell a story, treat time and space. Through various optical tricks and the combination of focal lengths, depth of field, apertures, Camera angles, speeds, movement, and how these are edited together shape our perception not only of the story we are told, but how it relates or is evident in the world around us, which can prompt social and collective action. As filmmakers and us, the audience, exchange narratives and reactions or applications in the real world, films become a vehicle for transmitting the shared human experience as a whole.